Welcome to Adam Does Movies. We're live. It's Friday night. I think a lot of people are probably out seeing the Marvels right now, so I understand if they're not tuning into this, but I have a good show prepared. We got 33 Marvel movies all stacked up, packed up, and ready to present. I'm going to be ranking them from worst to best. This is a massive ordeal. This is something that I don't think has ever been done on the internet before. No one, to my knowledge, has said, you know what, why don't I rank all the Marvel movies? It's quite an epiphany I had, and I'm glad to bring it to you today. Couple notes first. We're going to make them quick. I will have a review for The Killers, or The Killer, I guess that's singular. The Killer from David Fincher. It's a Netflix movie, unfortunately. That's going to be up hopefully tomorrow afternoon. I still have to watch the film. Still have to watch it. I'm honestly bummed out that David Fincher has this deal with Netflix. I want to watch his movies in theaters. I don't want to watch them at home streaming. It just doesn't have the same feel for me. So that's going to come tomorrow. I got home late because the kids and I went ice skating. We went to a ice skating rink in Somerville. No, I'm sorry, it was in Charleston, in South Carolina. It was a little meet and greet with some friends for my daughter. I realized that I still don't like ice skating all these years later. Kind of brought me back to my time in Minnesota, and I'm not a big fan of being cold, and I'm less of a fan of being uncoordinated on skates on ice where I can fall and get hurt. Thankfully, I didn't, but it could have been a messy situation. We did run and get McDonald's on the way home. Not something we typically do as a family. We're pretty healthy, but I got a Coca-Cola Classic from Mickey D's, and I'm ready to rock. Other news, really quickly. I have my review up for the Marvels. Spoiler, I liked it. I know most people were instantly put off by that. They're like, how dare you, sir? You should have hated this movie. I expected to hate it, but damn it, if I didn't, it didn't win me over. It got me. That review is going to be the first review to go up on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, other podcast services. I'm going to start putting my movie reviews up there as well as these live streams and my Monday podcast. A lot of stuff to listen to if you don't want to see me. You can just listen to me, and that might be equally as bad, but that's what you're going to get. Super chats are, of course, appreciated during this MCU live stream. Let me know your favorite. Let me know your least favorite. Let me know where you're at with some of them as I'm going. It's fun to break up my dialogue by featuring something from you. I put notes in to make sure I covered everything. Next week, last thing here, next week, I'm going to have a movie roast for The Matrix Resurrections. And the movie roast following that week is going to be for Star Wars The Last Jedi. So Christmas is coming early. We have two of my most hated movies in the last few years getting the roast treatment. I expect they're going to be long, and I expect they're going to be funny because I'm going to make damn sure of it. Okay, we are going to get into it now. I think I've spent enough time. Let's dive in. At the number 33 spot, we have the worst Marvel movie to date. Let's bring it up. It's not that one. Let's bring it up on this one. There we go. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, or as I call it, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantum Shitia. I don't like this movie at all. I don't like this in a can. I don't like this in a fan. I don't like this in a van. Sam I Am, whatever the Dr. Seuss thing is. This movie blows, and let me tell you why. For starters, I like consistency. I don't like when we have two Ant-Man movies that have the same look and feel to them, and then we completely throw that out the window and go into this quantum realm. Everything is completely Looney Tunes, stupid as shit. The characters don't act like they did before, really. Casey or Cassie, whatever her name is unbearable in this film. She's played by a third actress at this point. That actress is nothing like the previous two actresses. I know that there's an age difference, of course, between the first and the second and the third, but whatever. Regardless, she's laughing through every scene. The whole thing feels like a joke. It's all in front of a green screen. I was just miserable watching this over a long, bloated pile of ass. Paul Rudd can't even save what's happening here. It's also the introduction to the new villain, the big bad. Already forgot his name, and I don't care. He might be going to jail for all I know, so who knows what they're going to do. He wasn't threatening, and he got taken out by ants. So not quite Thanos levels of scary or intimidating. I don't like this film. All right, what do we got here? We got a super chat. We got 2 super chats in already. Shot out of a cannon. We have Mickey C. Mickey, my friend. A $2 super chat. Powerful. Thank you. Love your integrity. Hard to find these days. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I should say, complimenting myself since you started it, Mickey, it would have been so easy to just shit all over the Marvels. And that is such easy money. Brie Larson sells on YouTube. Hating on Brie Larson is such a big money maker for a lot of people. But damn it if the movie didn't win me over with its schlocky 90s vibe. I thought it was fun. Sue me, I thought it was fun. And yes, I did lose subscribers because of the video, but then I gained new ones. So, you win some, you lose some. It's okay. It's all right. We got one more from QB-DP for $2. You look like Neil Breen on steroids. I don't know who Neil Breen is. Hopefully he's the most attractive man or woman. Oh yeah, I do know Neil Breen. He does all the like super weird movies, the like C-list movies, really I don't even know what the term is for them. The trauma films? Yeah. I've heard that before actually. I don't take steroids though. Oh, okay. Beautiful. Beautiful Coke. We're going to go to the next one on the list. Oh, and by the way, before I get too down the rabbit hole, I should point out I have done MCU movie rankings before. It's been a minute. It's been a couple years. And I will also say that there's no way in hell that this matches my previous ones. I've stated this several times. I think rankings are kind of dumb, but they are a nice way to quickly go over a bunch of films and give opinions on them and have some discussion on them, even if it's just a one-way street. I do know this, my top 5 or 7 or 8 and my bottom 5 or 7 or 8 still very much in play. They're still very consistent with what I thought previously. Some of my bottom films have moved up a little because new bottom films have come in, and some of my top films have moved down a little because new ones have come in. The middle is really a grab bag. It's really just, something that was previously a 15 might now be an 18, vice versa. Let's carry on now with that in mind. Bottom line is I don't stand by anything that I said in the past. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. This is the follow-up to Black Panther, once again directed by Ryan Coogler. I thought this movie just blew ass. I really did not like anything about the movie. It had no energy to it. It had no soul. It really, Chadwick Boseman dying basically killed this entire film. They didn't know what to do, but for some reason felt the need to make it regardless. So everyone's in mourning the whole time. Chadwick's character, T'Challa, is killed off screen. He dies of like blood poisoning or something stupid. And then Shuri's going to take over the mantle. Well, she doesn't become the Black Panther until the final moments of the movie. And at that point, there's already a bang bus boat out in sea. For some reason, the Wakanda Knights, the Wakandonians, have a giant black cube boat, like a cruise ship. Even though I'm pretty sure they didn't even have ocean around them before. I don't know what's happening with this landmark. Also, Namor and Nimoy, or Finding Nemo, is able to swim through canals now that are connected to the ocean and get into Wakanda. I guess they don't have force fields or shields or weaponry of any kind anymore, even though this is the most wealthy location. I gotta stop myself. I'm gonna pass. I'm gonna give myself a heart attack just thinking about this movie. I have no problems with Looney Tunes shenanigans if there's a couple things in play. One, you have a tone that matches the stupidity of what I'm watching. This doesn't. This has a very serious tone with really stupid things. Two, you better get in and out fast. If your movie's an hour and a half, hour 45, cool. Let loose, have fun. But this movie's pushing over 2 hours. It's very slowly paced. It has really dumb shit like Iron Man girl in her suit that she's building out of a really nice uh plane hangar off of the college campus that she's somehow affording, and she's like a super genius. The plot is a mess, and you can tell this went through a lot of different behind the scenes shenanigans as well. So Wakanda forever. How about Wakanda for never? That's what I say. Wakanda for never. Let's move on. In the number 32, no, 31, doesn't matter. At the bottom, we have a little movie called Eternals. This movie's so forgettable, I completely forgot that it existed until the end when I was looking through my list. I go, I got 32. I'm pretty sure there's 33 now. What am I missing? Oh, yeah, the movie that time forgot. The movie that the MCU forgot. Eternals. This movie would work a little better if it had nothing to do with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but unfortunately it does. So now we live in a world where there's a giant Titan hand reaching out of the ocean, and nobody has acknowledged it ever since it happened. It's such a shit show. There's so many characters here. None of them give ample amounts of time to really shine or for us to connect to any of them. They're kind of like the hobbits in the Hobbit trilogy. I don't know any of their names. There's Dopey, Slappy, Sticky, Icky, Wicky. It doesn't matter. But at least with the Hobbit, that movie was a lot more fun, even though there's 3 of them for some reason. I enjoy Middle Earth a lot, so I'm going to give that a pass. I don't give Eternals a pass. It felt like a DC film, and that's not a knock on DC. It just felt very out of line with everything else Marvel's doing. I'm very cool with movies having their own identity. They should. But I do, again, want some sort of consistency, whether it's like a look or a feel or just a connective tissue of any kind to bring these together. But Eternals is just so far removed. It's so dull. It has kind of a Snyder stank on it without going all in on the cinematography. So it's just got kind of a dry color palette to it. Bland. Just all around bland for me. And the plot makes no sense. Like, you want to talk about plot holes and things not making any sense. I remember leaving the theater, and you can go back on my movie rant or review on this thing because I can't remember much about it. But I remember having about 5,000 questions in that movie. We got a super chat from Mikey again. Or I'm sorry, Mickey. Mikey and Mickey. I call them both. It's fun. These guys that make 5 videos a day, regurgitating the same stuff, woke and MCU, are an embarrassment to men. When is it time to grow up? Sad. Mickey, I hear you. I see you. I believe in you. And I actually did a video, I want to say a year ago or something. It's probably the most hated video on my channel. And I said it was called Not Everything's Woke. And it really was kind of me scolding other men out there. And I guess other men don't like to be scolded once in a while. I don't even think I was being mean. I was just kind of stating facts about how, you know, we like to get up in arms. Not me, really. I don't care. But other guys like to get up in arms when they put a good-looking woman in an action role or something, or they do a character swap, which does annoy the shit out of me. It does. But they think that white guys are being replaced in movies. And so what I did is I actually went through all the movies coming out the year that I made that video. And I just went down the list, and it was like Jurassic World, Dominion, Chris Pratt. It was like Indiana Jones 5, Harrison Ford. Every single month, there was a leading white dude in 2 or 3 movies coming out, big movies coming out. Yes, some of them had a woman paired with them or something, but there was still a massive amount of films that was just the white dude. So yeah, Hollywood might pretend to hate us, but when it comes time to cash the check, they're still casting us. You're going to be okay, is what I said. That's how I went. And I guess I came off too arrogant and too douchey, which is kind of the persona I like to live off of, even though I'm just, you know, having a good time and joking. I guess if it's at the expense of, you know, some people that can't handle the feelings getting hurt, then it comes back on me. Anyway, I have a good chunk of audience that actually watches the channels you're talking about, Mickey. I just had one in the comments, actually, because I mentioned Brie Larson and how there's a cottage industry that's out there on YouTube that just make hundreds of videos bashing her and Kathleen Kennedy. And then these people say, yeah, but they make good points. Okay, cool. Those points are long past made. And now it's just driving them further and further and further into the ground. Move on. But they won't. And it's not because of the point, it's because of the revenue. It's for the monetization. It's a grift. And it is embarrassing as all shit. It really is. But that's where we're at in the world. People grift, they get rewarded for it. Water's wet, the sky is blue, women have secrets. Who gives a fuck? All right, next on the list, let's get back to it. I went on a rant tangent there, a very special, beautiful thing. Thor, The Dark World. Speaking of unforgettable, speaking of unremarkable, unmemorable movies, we have Thor, The Dark World. Believe it or not, I've seen this movie twice, and I still don't know what the plot is. Something to do with an evil alien race, albino-looking creep shows that need Natalie Portman because she somehow eats an Infinity Stone. I think she's having cereal and one falls in and she just thinks it's part of her Captain Crunch and swallows it. And then Thor's got to somehow save her. Loki's in the mix up to his old tricks. And yeah, silly rabbit tricks are for kids. And this movie just is all over the place. And I don't care for it at all. Bland is the only thing you can really say about Thor, The Dark World. More like Boar, the dark. Okay, I couldn't do anything off of that. Sorry. Let's move on. Next on the list at number 29 is The Incredible Sulk. Pouty McGee over here. This guy's always feeling bad for himself. Oh, poor me. I turn into this giant, indestructible killing machine that can leap over fucking skyscrapers and pick up tanks and chuck them. And why are you so upset? Huh? Why do you got to make things so complicated, Avril Lavigne? And speaking of sulking, I'm just not a fan of Liv Tyler. I'm just not. I'm sorry. She cries in everything she's in. Everything. I dare you to find a movie where she's not crying at some point. I like Edward Norton as an actor. He was one of my faves for a long time back in the 90s. I was like, if Edward Norton's in this movie, I'm going to this movie. He kind of fell off after The Incredible Hulk. I think Eric Bana was my favorite still of the modern Hulks. I like Bana. Mark Ruffalo, whatever it is. He started out fine and then became a punchline by the end. He just got so silly, so cartoonish that now I just can't take him serious at all. The Incredible Hulk isn't good. I gave it 2 stars. It probably could go up to 2.5 if I'm being generous, which I feel like I should be a little bit more generous. The CG's pretty terrible. It's got this kind of dark tone to it, but it doesn't really match anything else in the MCU. There is one character that shows up, the general. I can't remember the actor's. William Hurt. He passed away, I think, a couple years ago. R.I.P. Otherwise, this just feels so disconnected from the MCU in general, and I just have never found myself wanting to go back and watch it. Again, unremarkable, unmemorable. It has a really dumbass scene where they fight at a college campus. I remember that. I remember in the story department thinking, wait, the military setting up a ambush at a college right on the campus grounds. Who thought this was a good idea? Asinine. Let's move on. At 28. Ugh. You know, I could almost push this one lower. I could push this under Incredible Hulk, but I'm standing by the list. This is the list. I've made it. I've checked it twice. And we're going to stick with this. I can't believe this is Jon Favreau. He directed Iron Man 1. He returns to make a movie 10 times shittier. I was going to say twice as shitty, but this is so much worse. I like Iron Man 1 a lot. And to fall so far from the quality of the first one, adding 2 villains into it with Whiplash and whoever the other one is, I already forgot. I think is Army. Let me look at the cast list again. Sam Rockwell. Yeah, Sam Rockwell's the other guy. I can't even remember what he does in this movie. He builds the war machines, and then Don Cheadle's taking over for Terrence Howard, who becomes War Machine. It's this is where they decided, okay, we're really making the MCU a thing. So let's really make it a thing. Let's throw in Black Widow. Let's have Nick Fury walking around talking about everything. Let's have Agent Coulson trying to get Iron Man to be part of the Avengers initiative. And half the movie's derailed with this. Whiplash is just kind of coming and going as he pleases. I think the dumbest scene in the movie is early on when Tony's driving around a NASCAR event, and Whiplash just kind of saunters out onto the road like a "How do you like me now?" And he's got his whips, and he just starts freaking going to town, busting up cars, and all I'm thinking is, shoot him! Where's the security at this massive event featuring a high-profile superhero? Shoot this idiot! Whiplash is shirtless. He's not even rocking a muscle tee. He just has his little robotic whip arms. Pop him in the head, dead. That's all you have to do. But no, the movie's just ridiculous. There's this really stupid fight scene in the mansion where Tony starts drunk, and then War Machine's like, "Don't make me do this, Tony." And some awful song plays like, "I've got the power." It's not that song, but it's something. It's a jock jams type of song. Really, really awful. Don't care for that movie either. So right now we're still in movies that I just do not like by the MCU. I'm gonna take a drink of Coke. Okay. I'm refreshed. Ugh. This movie. Thor, Love and Thunder. Snore, why bother? Snore, Love and Dunder. Bore. No, I'm done. Okay. This is a shit show. This is what happens when you take a great concept as Thor Ragnarok and you run with it all the way to the comedy side and beyond. I think Wayne's World has a more serious plot than Thor Love and Thunder. This movie never has a second of time where it's not undercutting itself. Guardians of the Galaxy gets punished by comments and by critics, I couldn't talk there, about undercutting its own drama. And that is fair. Occasionally, that does happen. Not always, but on occasion. Thor Love and Thunder is just such a freaking huge disappointment from Ragnarok, which I freaking loved. I thought Taika did a great job marrying comedy with action. And I remember the comments coming out when Thor Love and Thunder hit, and they're like, I told you, this is what happens when you praise a Marvel movie. They just go all in on it. And okay, fine. But Thor Love and Thunder, or I'm sorry, but Thor Ragnarok was awesome. And so what did you want people to do? Say, no, we don't want this, but we secretly do? I mean, come on. You take it movie to movie. It's not my fault that they decided to get too big-headed and say, you know what? We can just fuck off with this movie, put everything in front of a green screen, have, oh my God. Just have Zeus be this flamboyant, fat Russell Crowe spinning arrows around. I can't. The only thing that actually worked was the thing that everybody was all freaked out about ahead of time, and that's Natalie Portman being female Thor, or whatever she's called, Lady Thor. Everybody going in. This goes back to Mickey's comment about the cottage industry of assholes on YouTube freaking out about Disney constantly. I guarantee you, had dozens of videos on this. Lady Thor's taking over the Thor universe. She's going to be the next Thor. Chris Hemsworth is getting thrown out of his own movie. That was very much not the case at all. And in fact, they killed her off at the end of this movie. She doesn't even get to stick around for a sequel. And Portman's character arc was very compelling here, but it was done in 2 minutes. It's a 2-minute montage where we see how they're fighting. We see how she's struggling, battling cancer. And we get this actual cool, heartwarming idea where Thor is going to have his hammer protect her. And so that's why she becomes Lady Thor, because the only way to fight off her cancer is to become a god. That's pretty powerful. And it's thrown into this schlocky Batman and Robin bullshit. It's too bad. There is a good movie in here. There really is. But as it stands, it's its own worst enemy. They just got a little too big for their britches on this one. I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. All right. Ugh. Speaking of disappointing, we are still very much in the I don't care for these movies phase. Captain Midville. Captain Marvel 2019, directed by a couple indie directors who clearly did not know how to handle this type of material. I also think Brie Larson was remarkably miscast in this role. I've I've gone to bat for Brie several times on this channel, just saying, "Hey, I saw Room. She has a pass." Freaking excellent performance there. I also loved her in Scott Pilgrim. I liked her in the United States of Terra. She was fine in Community as a cameo in a couple episodes. She's done good things and she can absolutely act. But the superhero play is not for her. Not every actor can do it. Not every actor has it in that sense. When you look at a Downey Jr., you instantly see a stoic, cool, awesome superhero. Chris Pratt has it. I think that who else? I'm trying to think of someone on the female side that actually stands out. Oh, Gamora and Nebula, very well cast. Love those characters. They stand out. They have presence. But Brie Larson feels so manufactured in Captain Marvel, like how to stand, how to look stoically. It just doesn't feel natural, and it kind of comes off as a bit manufactured and insulting, to say the least. And this whole movie is kind of insulting. They're retconning so many things and pretending like this Superman-esque character who actually has no issue. She's got no vulnerabilities. She has zero weakness. Superman at least has the kryptonite thing. There is genuinely no weakness to Captain Marvel, which makes the character so boring. And even Superman gets shit as a really lame superhero because he's basically perfect and has no real obstacles to overcome. And I go to bat for Superman. I think that you make these characters compelling by putting their friends in harm's way or giving them these larger than life obstacles to overcome mentally. You don't play it off from the physical standpoint because there's just really nothing there. You know they're going to live. So you have to give us something for them to be challenged by. And Captain Marvel's really never challenged in this movie. In fact, she's kind of like the audience where she's left in the dark the whole time about who she is, which makes it really challenging for any actor or actress to put out a performance when, oh, I'm amnesia person. So I don't really have much of a personality because I don't know who I was, but I'm also not sure if I'm this type of. I mean, she's really three different people in this. She's a Kree survivor named Vierce. She's Carol Danvers from the past. And she's this blanket superhero girl trying to figure it all out and connect the dots. And nothing really connects with me. Not terrible all the same. There is some stuff that works. Her bouncing dialogue off of Nick Fury is fine. Samuel L. Jackson, I think, elevates pretty much everything he's in still to this day. And of course, you have Goose the lovable cat. There's also a really badass scene at the end where she does go into her full Super Saiyan mode and she's ripping through ships. The CG in that part looks excellent, looks really cool. It's a 30-second scene. We see 30 seconds of really, truly Superman level stuff here. And that's just a huge letdown. When you have a character this powerful, at least show her off. Okay, moving up the list, we have Ant-Man and the Wasp. These are kind of the little engines that could movies. Ant-Man, I don't think anybody ever expects them to be anything too amazing. Ant-Man and the Wasp certainly isn't, but it's passable, right? It's a Saturday morning film you throw on with your kids. It passes the time. Couple decent action scenes. This is the one where Evangeline Lilly has the best hairstyle. They just toss that shit in a ponytail. Whatever they did to her hair in the third one, that pixie cut is atrocious. It's a crime against humanity, and it needs to be burned with fire. It's miserable, but everything about that movie is miserable. Ant-Man and the Wasp, it's fine. perfectly mediocre follow-up to Ant-Man. At the 24 spot, oh, there he is. It's funny I said the little engine that could. I don't know if I was just in the back of my subconscious remembering that Thomas the train engine is a big character in the first movie. Little engine. He gets blown up massively, goes out the side of a house at one point. A lot of unintentional puns there. But Ant-Man is okay. You can definitely tell it's a product that should have been much better when there was a more competent director attached to it. Edgar Wright originally was doing this movie. That's the guy that did Scott Pilgrim, which I brought up just a little bit ago. I love Scott Pilgrim. He did Baby Driver. This guy knows how to make kick-ass movies. I would have really liked to see Edgar Wright's flair on this one. But Marvel is very, very tight with what they do with their product. And that's what these movies are. They're really just products at the end of the day. And so if you go off the beaten path too far, like Edgar Wright probably was going to do with his zany editing style, the way he just moves and makes his films is very unique. Voices are, yeah, that's a no-no for Marvel. You don't want to get too loud. You don't want to get too crazy, which makes the Eternals even more puzzling because that feels like one of the only times Marvel let someone that was very separated with their vision kind of let loose with things. And I applaud it for that. I applaud it for at least looking quite a bit different. But I do also see where Kevin Feige or Feiga or whatever the hell his name is, I see where he's coming from. You do want to have some sort of connective tissues and have a look that at least can bring these characters together. Otherwise, you just have Smash Brothers. And watching Solid Snake fight Pikachu, fight Sonic, fight the 35 characters from an a Fire Emblem game, that just doesn't mesh the best. It looks a little ugly at times. All right, let's move on to number 23, Captain America, the First Avenger. I have softened on this movie a bit over the years because I really like Chris Evans in this role. Evans just, you want to talk about having it. This guy looks like a superhero. He's got that awesomely sculpted jawline. He's got those steely eyes. And he's somehow rocking the most ridiculous suit in the MCU with ease. The guy is really perfectly cast as this character. I really appreciate Chris Evans as he's grown into the character over the years. He went from one of my least favorite, like one of the lamest characters to me, to a badass and someone that I was like, okay, this is kind of what they should have done with Cyclops in those X-Men movies, but never did. They did it here. And the problem I have with Captain America, the First Avengers, I just don't like the style of this. I don't like the serialized, pulpy adventure look they're going for. It's a little too long. It's just, yeah, I don't know. The action's not great. It's kind of a miss for me, to be honest with you. And the bad guy, Red Skull, cool on paper, cool villain, underutilized, especially considering it's Hugo Weaving. I expected more from that villain, but Marvel's not been great in the villain department outside of Thanos and Loki, who's, I guess, an anti-hero or whatever, a villain turned hero. Okay, 22 on the list is Spider-Man Far From Home. I'm not big on this movie. I guess I'm not sure why I'd even put it up higher than Captain America and the First Avenger, because I don't really ever want to watch this movie. It has one scene. Oh shit. Guys, I don't know what my deal is lately. I think it's because I'm so clutch with these streams now because I'm doing family stuff or whatever that I keep forgetting to plug my computer laptop in, and my battery light just came on. 1 second, I'm going to plug it in. I mean, this is just getting out of hand. It's out of control. The lack of remembering to plug the fucking computer in. That's how you know this is a rinky-dink one-man operation. There's no crew here. It's an army of one. It's really an army of dumb. Computer's plugged in. We should be okay to go. Hopefully. Okay, what was I saying? Oh yeah, Spider-Man: Far From Home. Tom Holland's back. We do have Sam Jackson in the mix. Samuel Jackson's been in a lot of these eating well. John Favreau's back. Marissa Tomei. I have a hard time with movies where they take things away from their central location. Putting Spider-Man in a European vacation scenario, that environment doesn't work the best for me. I like when he's hometown, localized, fighting crime on the mean streets. Here, though, he's fighting giant CG monsters who, as it turns out, aren't even there to begin with. So we're looking at fake CG giant creatures who are actually in the movie fake giant CG creatures because they're being superimposed on the screen by a bunch of little tiny drones that's being controlled by Jake Gyllenhaal's character Mysterio. Jake Gyllenhaal is great. He's actually a pretty cool villain in this. There's one scene that I really enjoy, and that's the entirely fake CG Spider-Man section where he's kind of going through this nightmare world, fighting different versions of himself. He's falling down hills. It looks really great. And it's a testament to how good the animation department can do if they have any time and they're not crunched to hell and back by Disney. That's a showcase piece for sure in an otherwise pretty unremarkable movie. Oh, and also Tony Stark giving Tom Holland a parting gift of some glasses that can call on a drone strike. That was a bit much for me. That was a bit much. At number 21, we have Thor. Take a drink of Coke. Celebrate me fixing my computer. This is a perfectly run-of-the-mill movie. Not bad. Not great. It's okay. It's watchable. Introduction to Chris Hemsworth, who will wildly change from this first film, going from a very serious character with an occasional joke thrown in to a college frat dumbass who doesn't ever take anything serious anymore. There was something really great right there in the middle. There was something special right in the middle of those two emotions. We'll get back there, I think, with Thor 5, which has been confirmed. Taika Waititi is not coming back for it. Hopefully we can rein him in a little bit. This one gives us the introduction to Loki. I like the brotherly dynamic here, the yin and yang getting pulled apart. He's like a bastard child. We have Natalie Portman, who's always easy on the eyes, playing, I don't know her name, generic character Jane or something. Terrible character, but she is very beautiful. And then you have Darcy, who's really funny, hilarious sidekick, who's just kind of been missing in the later ones. She was kind of the go-to. When Thor, whatever the second one's called, it's so lame, I forget the title, Dark World, came out, they're like, we have to have more Darcy. Get more Darcy in. This is our saving grace for Thor. And then finally someone goes, you know what? Chris Hemsworth is actually funny. We could use him. We could just use him as the humor. Like, oh my God. Then we don't even need Darcy? Is that what you're saying? It's brilliant. She did show up in WandaVision. I think that was the last time I saw her, was WandaVision. Moving on. At number 20. Man, this is taking a long time, isn't it, guys? This is going to be a great podcast, too. Black Widow 2021. I know this was a lot higher on my last ranking video. People lost their fucking minds. They're like, Black Widow in the top 12 or 10 or wherever I had it. And they were right to do so. Because as it turns out, Black Widow is perfectly average. It's a perfectly average movie that came out way too late in the game. This has a bit of I want to say a Winter Soldier vibe to it. Camera's more shaky, more free-flowing, more direct into the combat. Has a little bit of a Bourne Identity feel to it. The last half of the movie, things get crazy. We have a lot of CG. There's some really awful CG in the final act, but I love that scene where she's free falling through the sky, jumping off of panels and shit. It's awesome. It makes no sense, but it looks really cool. I mean, to be fair, Black Widow never made sense for me. I always found it fascinating how Hawkeye would get a bunch of shit because he just has good aim. Black Widow doesn't even have that. I mean, she's got good aim. She has perfect aim, like him almost, but She doesn't even have a bow and arrow. She's just a chick who's really good at fighting. How is she surviving all of this? I don't even understand. Why is she not in an Iron Man suit? Like, cut the crap. It's ridiculous. Anyway, it's pretty funny in this movie too, because she and her sister, played by Florence Pugh, who's fantastic in this, and she's really fantastic in everything she does. They have a great chemistry, and these two together, kind of road tripping around, fighting bad guys. That stuff all looks good. There is some good hand-to-hand combat in this. And yeah, it's got an intriguing plot. And then, of course, the terrible twist that Taskmaster is actually a strong female lead. And for the MCU, it's about time. Is that a thing in all of the female-led superhero movies? Is they fight a female bad guy too? Because in the Marvels, it's a female bad guy. And in Captain Marvel, obviously all the men are bad in that movie because men suck. But the AI is presented as Annette Bening. I mean, granted, we only have a couple to choose from. There's not a lot of female-led superhero movies. Of the 33 so far, we have 3. But men are being replaced. Okay. At number 19. Doctor Strange in the multiverse of midness, to reuse the lame joke. Doctor Strange is back, baby. This time he brought Wanda with him. Or you could argue it's the opposite. You could argue it's quite the contrary, because Wanda really kind of steamrolls this movie. This is really about Mom. This is really about Wanda, aka the Scarlet Bitch, aka the Scarlet Witch. I did a movie roast on this. This thing infuriates me because it is a lot of fun, actually. And if you turn your brain off, you can have a good time. The problem is it's pulling in a lot of different threads from a lot of different characters that we have been watching for a lot of time. So Wanda, who was previously good for 50 movies, is now suddenly like the most evil thing in the world. And unless you watch the Disney Plus WandaVision show, in the final act of the fucking last episode, you won't know what's going on with this. And I watched that episode and I still don't see the connection. The fact that she was corrupted by this Darkhold book off camera is just the worst type of writing imaginable. Like, you can't do that. That's like having James Bond a bad guy when the new James Bond starts up. Like what? Oh, he was corrupted by some secret agency that you didn't show us? All right, that's weird. Outside of that, there is just some. This is the one that kind of annoyed me with the multiverse stuff more than anything else. Because of this dumbass multiverse introduction, we can now just pull in characters from all over the place and kill them off. And it loses its luster so quickly when I see Patrick Stewart, who I loved as Professor X, just get completely bodied by Wanda like he was nothing. And I understand that it's to showcase how threatening she is and how arrogant the Illuminati is, but we're just seeing some of these people again for the first time in a long time. You had the fan casting of Jim Halpert as Mr. Fantastic, and then he just gets freaking killed instantly. It's like, what was the point of this? Just to pull the rug out? People don't like that. No. And the fact that they killed Wanda and supposedly she's fully dead, this was just such a weird way for her to go out. The whole thing was messy. It felt chopped up to pieces and back. But I still think it's okay. I can still watch it and get entertainment out of it. Just, it's very superficial, top level stuff. You have to also understand, and I think most people here or that listen or watch are in agreement that Marvel's pretty much far gone past its prime. Endgame was a great closing chapter to a bunch of phases of movies with a bunch of characters we really like, and it felt completed. And so everything after has been kind of toppings, you know? I'm a simple man. You give me a milkshake, you throw a little whipped cream on the top, maybe a cherry. That's a nice dessert. And I feel like that's what we got. And then after that, oh, here's Shang-Chi. We get some sprinkles. Oh, here's here's No Way Home. Get a little Oreo crumbles on there. That's fine. Still feeling it. But then, oh, we're gonna throw some licorice on that. I don't know if I need Thor: Love and Thunder that much. And then, oh, here comes some M&Ms, and the next thing you know, this chocolate shake isn't even a chocolate shake anymore. It's some sort of mud pie. It just gets messy, and that's where we're at. We are at a full-blown mess of a dessert, and I honestly don't even want it anymore. And so once in a while, yeah, you're going to get a topping that you like, and it makes you remember something of the old MCU, or maybe it's something from the new MCU that doesn't bother you that much, but it is far past its prime. That dairy is expired. We're still going with this milkshake analogy. I think we can be done with it. Let's be done with Doctor Strange. Oh, speaking of new, we have the Marvels right here. No, I didn't put it at my number one. It's not in my top 10, believe it or not. The Marvels just came out like a day or two back. I reviewed it. I liked it. Look at it. It's at 3.5 out of 5 stars for my arbitrary rating, which means really nothing to me at all. I only do it because then I can sort the list that way. This movie is a shit show, to be sure, but it's a fun shit show. It did really feel like a 90s movie to me, where it's definitely aimed towards family and younger audiences and guys like me that like that kind of stuff. I tried to explain it in the review. When I make a movie review now, I don't take it from the aspect, and I think people are understanding this. I'm trying to make it more clear that my opinion's right, or that you should definitely listen to what I have to say because I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about as far as what I'm getting out of the movie, but I try to project what you will get out of the movie by just laying down cold, hard truths. Truth of the matter is this: The Marvels is pulling from 2 or 3 Disney Plus shows and several different movie properties. So going in, you have a lot of homework to do. And some of these things that it's pulling from kind of suck, in my opinion. But maybe you don't think so. Maybe you really liked Miss Marvel, in which case, good for you. You're going to get more of that character. Or maybe you've been liking everything. Just know that you're going to need to know it to really get everything you can out of this film. But if you don't know it, there's still a little bit of a history lesson. They still tell you what's going on. And so you can at least get on the same page in the first 5 minutes and say, okay, she got her powers from a magical witch hex. All right, she got her powers from this. And she's been here for the last couple years, wandering through space and ignoring all the problems on Earth. Got you. I'm caught up. Give me this movie. And what they do is they give you a very quick movie with a lot of action, a decent amount of heart. There definitely is some drama in this one that I do think works. And yeah, you can easily make jokes and say, oh, it was built by AI, or oh, this is what we're getting now, just more garbage off a conveyor belt. And you'd be fine for saying that. And I don't discredit that even. But the pieces lined up for me, and I thought the actresses did a good job bouncing off of each other and having a good time. Brie Larson is still miscast in this. She still looks depressed as hell. I think she's watching some of those YouTube channels and they're getting to her. I'm not even joking you. I think she thinks people hate her and don't want her to do these movies because she's listening to that loud vocal minority. I don't know. Most people don't live on the internet still. So they see a Captain Marvel movie, they just might be like, I don't need to see this. And that's clearly what's happening. And a lot of people aren't going to this movie because it doesn't have the luxury of being sandwiched in between 2 major tentpole Avengers films. This one's on its own now. After all the excitement has gone down, it's simmered, and what's left is a movie that's just kind of lost in the shuffle, not sure what it should be. This knows it wants to be for younger audiences. It wants to have fun. It's silly as shit. It's telling jokes. They're landing for me. The action's working for me, and it's quick. Easy enough. Easy enough. Not amazing by any means, just a fine movie. And at this point from the MCU, that's all I'm looking for. Yeah, the bar is set much lower lately. All right, we have Doctor Strange, the first. You know, kind of in the paint by numbers phase of the MCU, if I'm going to be honest with you. But this does have a really trippy look, straight out of Inception. is really what I describe it as. Buildings are kind of folding over. Doctor Strange is doing cool shit with his hands. Benedict Cumberbatch is owning this role. Very much a Tony Stark type character. However, visually, it's very fun to look at. It's got a kaleidoscope effect of CG. Benedict Cumberbatch, very likable, even if he's playing an unlikable douchebag for the most part. You get that standard growth. You get that standard arc. This is paint by numbers, but it's paint by numbers done right. Don't have any problems. Again, we have a weak villain, though. But we do have a fun twist ending where he kind of keeps using the time stone to jump back and forth over and over again. It's doing cool stuff with time stones. Put that on the poster. It's doing cool stuff with time stones. Adam from Adam Does Movies. Okay. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Let me get the negative out of the way. This movie's too long. It's long as shit, I feel like. It's got to be over 2 hours, right? Hour 32. Yeah. Yeah, it's over 2 hours, which is a mistake. Negative out of the way. Great action. It has a top 5, I think, action sequence in this movie, which is where they have the classic bus chase gets ripped in half. Shang-Chi's flipping all around this thing. Awkwafina, one of the worst actresses in Hollywood today for me, is annoyingly yelling behind the wheel of the bus. Yet I don't mind her in this series. I think she's perfectly pleasant. They're toning down her annoyingness. She's staying okay. This has a all right villain, actually. He's kind of cool. You are getting the lame like final battle where they both have the same powers, Ant-Man style, Iron Man 1 style. Like he has rings, but the rings are cool. I like how they're flying over the place. I like the Crouching Tiger inspiration of this. I'm a big kung fu guy, so that stuff really bleeding into the MCU is fun for me. Yeah, I like that it takes place both in the real world and this kind of fantastical world that they live in. I'm excited. I like this character. Shang-Chi's cool as shit. I didn't know this guy going in, much like I didn't know a lot of these MCU characters. I really like the performance here by Simu Liu. He was great in Barbie as one of the Kens. He's just got a charming personality, and yeah, I want to see more from this guy. Honestly, not a bad film. Not a bad film, governor. We are at the 15 slot, so we are over the halfway hump. Iron Man 3, directed by Shane Black. Shane Black, who's done a lot of cop-style comedy drama movies, jumping into the MCU with a little bit of style. Some people hate this movie. I don't hate this movie. I think this movie's pretty cool. And it's because they didn't like what they did with the Mandalorian. Dun, 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 dun. The Mandalorian's here. That'd be sweet. Mandalorian versus Iron Man. Wow. The Mandarin is what I meant to say. Let's move past that flub. The Mandarin was actually just a hokey actor playing the Mandarin. We didn't actually see the real one. The real villain is Guy Pearce. Shocking. Guy Pearce is playing a bad guy as fire starter guy. He's using some tech that makes people burn up. I like this movie because it pulls things back to a little bit of normalcy. We went from Avengers, larger than life explosions, aliens coming through portals and shit, to now we have a grounded Robert Downey again. We have a grounded Tony Stark who's got PTSD. He's freaking out at the fact of another alien invasion. He's going a little loony. He's building all these Iron Man suits in his free time. And sure enough, another threat comes along and starts burning this place to the ground. Probably not a good idea to give out your home address, Tony. But, I mean, let's be honest. How do people not know his home address anyways? It's not like this guy is living a life of seclusion. He's very lavish. He's driving all over the place. They have cameras. They would know this. They would know where he lived. His place gets bombed. He befriends this cute little kid who I think it's the same kid that's in the crappy, what are those stupid ass movies? There's like 5 of them now. They just came out with one, The Red Door. What the fuck was that called? Insidious. I think it's the same boy that's in Insidious. They have a great rapport, and I really dig the final battle. It's one of my favorites in the MCU, where Tony's running and jumping into the different suits and they get ripped up, so he has to hopscotch to different ones. I dug it. I dug it. That's probably not even the same actor, and I just pulled that out of my ass for no reason. Wakanda Forever, not a fan of that one, but I did enjoy Black Panther quite a bit. Does it have a really rough final act? Yeah, it does. Does the CG look like absolute shit? Of course. Which is kind of the norm now for the MCU. It's really set the standard of how much you can push these animators to get stuff done in just a couple weeks. But Black Panther just was so different from the rest of the MCU. It really felt like its own MCU inside of itself. Like the Black Panther universe was so large, and it had this like Lion King feel, and the plot basically is Hamlet again. It is the Lion King. The father dies. We get T'Challa taking over, but then he's tricked and he's presumed dead so that Scar can take Pride Rock and take over. But then, T'Challa comes back again, stronger than ever, and he reclaims the throne at the end. It's the same exact plot, but that story's been done before. That doesn't mean it can't be done again in a different twist, and that's what we have here. His dad's even up in the sky talking to him. Simba, T'Challa, what are you doing, you idiot? Get to work. Sorry, Papa. Sorry, Wakanda Forever and all that. Cool style to this. You have the great music. It's rap, of course, because this is a movie with predominantly black cast. So it's of course known that you have to have a rap song in the trailer. Watch any trailer with a black cast. It's always fucking rap music. It's so bad. Like, this is all we know. Let's put it in there. Actually, it's just any non-white trailer is rap. I think Shang-Chi had rap music too. It's like, we got to do something a little bit more urban, a little bit cooler. None of this fray playing. We're not playing the fray. We're not playing One Republic in this trailer. We're gonna do Kendrick Lamar. And that song, Kendrick Lamar's music in this movie is freaking great. I'm always ready for a war again. Black Panther. I always throw that in there. T'Challa was great. It's so sad that Boseman's gone. It's God. You know, if multi-million-dollar actors or guys that are essentially at the peak of their fame, they're at their prime, if they get killed by cancer, then it's game over for us. It's game over for you and I. We get it. It's over. So shit. I just want them to say, oh yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's had cancer for 45 years. He's fine. He's doing well. We've actually had a cure for this the whole time. You just have to be wealthier. I just want to hear that. So that at least there's some hope at some point that they're going to make it more open to the public. You know, I want to be able to pick up my prescription at Walmart down the road. But yeah, that was very, very tragic. And obviously the sequel suffered because of it. Very much so. But in this one, we also have an incredibly cool villain with Killmonger, Michael B. Jordan. He's always elevating the material too, I think. Here he is at his top prime game. I loved him in this. I think the Disney execs, the Marvel execs, kick themselves in the foot every single... they kick themselves in the foot? They kick themselves in the back? What is the expression even there? Shoot themselves in the foot. They spear themselves in the foot every time they look back on this movie and say, why did we kill Killmonger? He had a redemption arc. It was there. He could have been another Loki, but even more badass. He could have been Black Panther in the sequel, but they killed him like a bunch of idiots. Such a waste. Martin Freeman's the token white guy in this movie. He's great. Plays off it really well. I'm always ready for a war again. It's Black Panther. Spider-Man No Way Home, a movie that some will say is the greatest thing since sliced bread, the MCU equivalent of God tier mode. I'm not there. I'm actually being generous, I think, by putting it this high up on the list because the more I think about this movie, the more annoyed I get of it. Yes, it had our Spider-Man reunion, and that's why it is higher up on the list. And I've talked about this movie many times. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but what a weird phrase that is, beat a dead horse. I want to beat a dead homeless man, but the little things in this movie really work. Andrew Garfield, anytime he opens his mouth, we're getting gold from him. The Spider-Man from the worst Spider-Man movies is probably the best Spider-Man in this movie, and that's Andrew Garfield. Always nice to see Tobes back, Tobes Maguire back in the mix, back in the fray. And Tom Holland's just geeking out with these guys. There's some really good small moments here, but the plot of this movie is so fucking dumb. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Well, maybe a couple buts. Big ones. Cable guy? Anyone? Cable guy? Show of hands. The fact that this movie revolves around Tom Holland's friends not being able to get into college because he's Spider-Man is maybe the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. Like, why? What? It doesn't even make sense. And then he doesn't even bother going to the dean of these schools or writing a letter. Or, I mean, I'm pretty sure he knows some pretty famous guys that could maybe pull some strings. But instead, his first instinct is, let me go to the crazy magician, the wizard, and have him wipe everyone's minds of me away. It is so stupid. And again, I can forgive stupid if you're short with it and if your tone matches the level of immaturity a plot like that contains, but it doesn't. This movie is serious as hell. There's jokes thrown in, but this is easily the most serious of the three. And there are some stakes here. Freaking Aunt May dies, and that is an actual emotional moment. They again, the small things work really well. They nailed that. They nailed the reunion of the Spider guys, the Spider fam. They nailed the Green Goblin stuff. I mean, some of that stuff was just really well done, but it takes a long ass time to get to this reunion. This is a long fucking movie for no reason. There's a lot you could cut, and you should have absolutely spent another pass at the script because it is rough. Again, the small things carry this film. The reunion carries this film. There is some good action in this movie. There's some good heart in this movie. So it's higher up. It's not that high up, but it's higher up. It's what do I got? 13? That's pretty fair. That's pretty fair. Now people are going to freak out because I have Age of Ultron above that. You just said you hate when Marvel puts other movie commercials. This whole movie's a movie commercial. Well, it is. It's a long movie. It's got a lot in it. Too much in it. you have characters getting created from scratch with Ultron and what the fuck's that guy's name that Marvel forgot about? Oh yeah, Vision. Remember when Vision was a character? And then he came back in WandaVision, then just kind of flew away and was like, "See you guys never," and then he's just gone. And Wanda forgot about him altogether in Doctor Strange 2. Interesting. Age of Ultron, I thought did a lot of things better than the first Avengers movie. Not the plot, but everything else kind of ratcheted up. The action's better. The effects are better. The rapport between our characters is better. And there's more of it. I like the farm stuff. I like slowing it down, getting some character growth. The big battles are epic. We got a Hulk Buster fight in this. There's a lot of fan service going on in this movie. The big letdown, I think, for many is that Ultron was teased as a much more sinister threat, a much more evil character than he ended up being in the final product, which is, again, kind of a Disney comical foil. And that is a big letdown. I think there's way more good here than bad, though. Visually stunning, great effects work, funny jokes that land most of the time, heroes doing hero stuff, big explosions. Wanda's a smoke show in this movie. Scarlett Johansson's looking great. All of our guys are looking just perfect. Superficially, this is a top to bottom great looking movie. And again, those character moments, especially in that big ass final battle, they stick the landing. They really do. Age of Ultron, baby, all day. Thor kind of being shoehorned. Thor is the biggest disaster with that because he goes into like a whirlpool. He goes to a sauna, a little bubble bath, and he's like, "Oh, Infinity Stones! Oh, I see Infinity Stones." That's really his entire plot. That's dumb. At number 11, we have Spider-Man Homecoming. I like this movie a lot. I think this is the strongest of the three Spider-Man films. It's got a good story. I like that it's grounded. We see Peter at his hometown, going through the city, stopping bad guys, telling jokes. This is the youngest Peter Parker. He feels the most high schoolish. He's not like a 35-year-old playing a 15-year-old. It matches up. I like his buddy. I like Aunt May. It's all going well. Of course, I'm always gonna have a soft spot for the OG Spider-Man, Tobes, Maguire, Uncle Ben, Aunt. I believe there's a hero in all of us. May. It's untouchable for me. But this was great. I went in with pretty low expectations. I left with a Ferris Bueller-esque vibe, which was definitely intentional. High school shenanigans. And yeah, it is. I will say on the negative, which is why it's a little lower. It's long. This feels very long. I would have liked an hour 45 here. I think we could have told this story in an hour 45, especially when they're not even retelling the Uncle Ben shit. They're just like, hey, yeah, Ben, he's dead. He died at some point. I turned into Spider-Man at some point. We all know. We all read the comics. It's fine. Yeah, it gets down to business, but it could have got down to business a little quicker. And of course, Michael Keaton, always a good sign. Never complain about Keaton. We got number 10, Captain America Civil War. Where the hell, by the way, where the hell are the super chats tonight, people? I got 60 people watching. I want to talk to some people, but there's no super chats. It's a little sad. I'm giving you guys gold over here. Captain America Civil War. I didn't realize I had this so high up on my list. You know what? I'm kind of second. I think I'd put Homecoming above Civil War. If I'm going to be frank with you, you can be Alan. Civil War is good. Don't get me wrong. I like Homecoming, I think, better than this, but it's here, so let's just go with it. Well, you know, little nuances aside, as far as the order of the list. This is fan service to a 1,000th degree. We have basically the X-Men intro credit sequence playing out in real time, where both sides of the party rush each other at an airport. Civil War. It's as close as we're going to get to that intro scene in X-Men, and I'm here for it. Spider-Man's completely shoehorned into this movie. This is when the MCU is in its prime as far as collecting every property they can. Disney's like, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, X-Men, we got them all. And so they throw Spider-Man in here as a total fuck you, and or to Fox and to whoever else. They're acquiring Sony's got some of that property. Sony makes some of that money. Actually, I think Sony makes a lot of money off Spider-Man still. I can't remember how it all works out. It's basically like Disney gets to use Spider-Man, but Sony gets a large percentage of that revenue somehow during the contract. Because Sony knows Spider-Man's gold. That's like Batman. If you have that shit, you do not let it go cheaply, or you don't let it go at all. You just kind of loan it out. Captain America Civil War, again, the criticism I have with a lot of these, this movie's fucking bloated. It's really long. It's really long. And I do think I've always been hung up on this. I'm a stickler with words. There was a gentleman in my comments on the Marvels review who said, Adam, he said something like that, or I consistently disagree with your opinion on movies, but I like your presentation. And I responded, really? You consistently, so for the majority of the time you disagree with me, but you're still watching? I would have a hard time, I think. Well, I don't. If I disagree with someone almost all the time, because consistently that's like 80%, I would assume, or it's a high number. I can't remember that. He didn't use consistently. He used a word even more aggressive than that. Okay. I'm being generous with the word because I can't remember it, but it was a pretty aggressive word that meant the majority of the time. Regardless, I responded, I'm like, wow, I mean, thank you for sticking around. That means a lot, but I'm going to be honest with you, dude. I don't think I could watch someone who's constantly saying the opposite of what I'm thinking. I feel like that's just not something I want to listen to. That's a little too much. Um, so I'm big on words. I'm big on how they're used. And so Captain America Civil War, I would say it's Captain America Civil Dispute. Captain America Mild Disagreements. Captain America Slight Spat. Captain America Fractured Alliance. There's a lot of things, but this is not a war. Okay? And I'm so sick of the it's an internal war bullshit. No, that doesn't sell for me. That doesn't slide for me. This is not a war. Okay, there's a fight at an airport, which is awesome. It's top 3 fights in the MCU. It's a fangasm like no other. You got Ant-Man running on arrows, Hawkeye's shooting cars down, Wanda's throwing people through floors, Black Panther's in the mix, jumping around. A lot of characters introduced into this one, a lot of little plots introduced. It is interesting having a bad guy who's essentially just a regular Joe Schmo, who's kind of pulling the strings behind the curtain and making these puppets dance, turning them against each other. Interesting idea. This probably would have worked better, honestly, as a 2-part film, where the first part is Infinity War style, building up the drama, building up the stakes and tension, and then part 2 really lets loose. And then we do have a massive war with these super powered characters destroying things, really causing a lot of havoc. And that probably would lead better into Wanda becoming evil, or really splitting this alliance down where there are some fine lines drawn. You get Magneto into the mix at this point, recruiting some of these characters. I just think there was a way where they could have thought this out better than just, let's have them fight about the whatever accords in a meeting room, and then they're going to just start fighting at a small airport wing. I don't know. It was fine. I like it. Obviously, I put it higher up on the list just because I like all the action. I'm an easy date. You throw a lot of action at me, I'll be happy. Here we go. Captain America, the Winter Soldier, the biggest glow up in the MCU, I think, since Thor Ragnarok, really. Captain America, the Winter Soldier is, I mean, how do you describe it? It's gone from this silly little, I'm fighting in World War II against the Nazis, bang, bang, jumping around, to holy shit, I'm in internal espionage. There's this weird secret deep state Hydra calling the shots, and they're trying to start World War III. And Captain America's got to figure this out. Nick Fury's wound up in the hospital. There's this mysterious Winter Soldier that turns out is his best friend, who he thought died, but has been utilized over the years to assassinate key targets. Black Widow, ScarJo looking insanely attractive in this movie. I will always point out the good looking things. And Chris Evans, come on, the guy is an Adonis in this film. He's an absolute Adonis. Action, top notch. We have an elevator fight scene, incredibly iconic. Yeah, this is a great one. And I was honestly just shocked when I saw this movie, thinking, what am I watching right now? Why is Captain America so freaking cool all of a sudden? Is this what people liked from the comics? Because I get it now. I didn't get it before, but I get it now. Even in the first Avengers movie, I was starting to warm to the character, but in that one, he's looking a little doofusy still with the super bright blue outfit on, and he's calling the shots, and that's working. But here, if this would have came out before the Avengers, I would have been all in on him as the captain over there. I'd been like, yeah, fuck, listen to this guy. He knows what he's doing, Tony. This guy gets it. This is Leonardo of the Ninja Turtles. All right. We are getting down there. We are at number 8. Avengers Endgame. Let me Avengers mansplain why this isn't higher up. I mean, 8 that's a pretty high price to pay, especially when we're getting close to a trilogy that you probably all can figure out right now what it is. So that's taking up 3 spots by itself. But the Russo brothers are back. They did Winter Soldier. They did Infinity War, and here they are with Avengers Endgame, the closing, the milestone we've all been waiting for. Massive big battle sequence at the end. We have our big bad Thanos, who unfortunately has been dumbed down to more of a Chad bro in this one, because this is a different version of Thanos than the previous century because of time jumping and all that bullshit. I mean, come on. It has to be high because it has the Wakanda Forever scene where they come through the portals. Captain America's got a fucking Thor's hammer. He goes, Avengers, assemble. And then and then it's just fangasm after fangasm. All the good stuff, from the time jumping to utilizing different characters in their prime, to all the bad stuff. Captain Marvel suddenly being a thing because she had a movie that came out right before this, so now she's in the picture, to the Incredible Hulk, the Hulk's entire character arc basically getting fucked off. They don't do anything with it. He's just fixed. He's better off camera. To Thor kind of being treated like a total punchline. There's good highs and there's low lows for me here, which is, it kind of sucks because I did not expect this movie, especially after Infinity War, to have some really, really bad ideas in play. Because I thought Infinity War was just freaking perfect. And to have kind of a dip in the second act, to really fumble the ball like this, but only to pick it up again and, you know, of course, score the touchdown at the end with Iron Man sacrificing himself, a beautiful funeral scene, and a great send-off to the fans. It's a mixed bag for sure, but it's one that's incredibly memorable. It's one that I remember seeing in theaters and thinking, this is it. This is a top 10 movie theater experience. I'm never going to get this again for a long time. And yeah, you gotta appreciate it for that. You got to appreciate the machine working overtime to make this happen. We have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This is actually a mistake. I don't know why I didn't have time to check the... What the fuck? Okay, my list is screwed up. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 should actually be above. Yeah, oh no, this all got screwed up. Actually, I think just this got screwed up. All right, ignore Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Avengers is the next one on my list, so I guess it's at, I don't know, who cares? The 7th spot. At this point, we're just talking about great movies. Avengers, I already brought it up. First time our team comes together. We know the movie, right? We know the movie. Has some of the most memorable moments, from Thor getting drilled by Hulk just for no reason at all, just for fun, to Hulk smashing Loki around like a rag doll. Remember when Hulk was awesome? It's so long ago, isn't it? It's been so long since Hulk was really awesome. Oh, whatever. Good times. Good times. Loki, of course, the villain. Great villain. Amazing, huge set pieces in this one. Again, this is one of those movies that brought everyone to the theaters because we were waiting for the culmination of 5 movies or 4 movies. What do we have? Iron Man, Iron Man 2, Hulk, Thor, Captain America. So this was this the 6th movie? Yeah, so 5 movies leading into this. Hype was high, and I think they delivered. Looking back on it, is it a little campy, a little corny, a little schlocky? Hell yeah, it is. It's a superhero movie, and that's what we were doing back then. Okay. So I think I don't know what happened here. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 should not be at 7. I think Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is better than the Avengers for me. I know some people do not like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I'm a fan of it. I'm a big fan of it. And I think it's better than Iron Man. Okay, so we'll go to Iron Man. Iron Man 2008. This one started it all. I don't know how you can't say, you know what, this is a classic. It's timeless. We owe pretty much the entire MCU to Jon Favreau and Robert Downey Jr. I know Kevin Feige gets a lot of the credit, but these two dudes are the ones that really made this happen. without the vision, without the great direction, the gritty realism, and the fantastic performance by Robert Downey Jr., taking a character that no one really gave a shit about outside of comic book fans, a small amount of them, you have gold here. And it would not have happened if this stuff didn't all fire, which it did. Is the movie perfect? Far from. I think the final act is kind of eh. I don't like that the bad guy was secretly making his own Iron Man suit. It's like a fucking space shuttle. He's like, oh, I got one too. Little too comic book corny. But again, there's so much good here. And it is disappointment. This is a big thing where people are so upset with movies now by Marvel. I'm past it. Again, I'm past it, which is why I could enjoy the Marvels. There's still people that are expecting these gritty Iron Man-like films from Marvel, and that's gone. It's very clear that this is Disney first, Marvel second. And so if you can't make the switch over yet, why bother getting upset about it? It's done. It's done. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was the final straw because that was James Gunn. That was his vision. That was his baby. Disney let him go with it. But everything else is basically colorful crap. Okay, let's move on now that I got that pep talk out of the way. Iron Man, and then we have, I'm going to go Thor Ragnarok at number, so I either do Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 or I do Thor Ragnarok. I'm going to do Thor Ragnarok. We're going to say that's number 5. You're just going to have to deal with what I'm looking at. Thor Ragnarok, number 5. Basically because I think this movie only exists because of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies doing it correctly. Ragnarok, it's a massive glow up. We have Thor, cuts the hair, loses the poor attitude. Now he's a fun-loving god. He's having a good time. He's making the best out of a bad situation, which is his dad's dead. His sister's come back to play. His brother's MIA. He thinks he's dead too, actually. And he's stranded on some bizarre, weird-ass planet with Hulk and Jeff Goldblum. What do you got? What did you bring for me today? What do you have for me? I love Jeff Goldblum. He's just himself all the time, and it's perfect. This is just a rock and roll movie. You got a kick-ass soundtrack. They set the tone with Immigrant Song right away. The movie is colorful. It still has a level of seriousness to it. It just keeps building and building this character up in the most badass way possible until he finally unleashes pure talent, pure energy. He's blowing lightning out of his hands. He's saving his people. There's a giant titan at the end. I don't know if there's not to like. Kate Blanchett looks fantastic. She's a cool villain as Hera. Yeah, I have nothing but positives on Thor Ragnarok. I've seen that movie probably 6 times. And Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, I've seen probably 7 or 8 times. Again, I know people think this is too silly, it's too zany, but this is James Gunn. This is what he does. You either are on board with it or you're not. I love these characters. I think there's some of the best characters in Marvel, and just in sci-fi now, they've really made a name for themselves. From Star-Lord to Gamora to Nebula. I just can't get enough. Plus, you got Rocket Raccoon, a character that I shouldn't really feel shit for. This CG disgusting creature. I'm tearing up over his backstory. The final shot where he's looking out at the fireworks, the music's blaring, and he cries. Like, why is this so good? Why am I feeling emotion about this? It's just impressive storytelling. Yes, having his dad turn into David Hasselhoff, lame. Yes, having him turn into a Pac-Man while they're in the middle of a big fight, dumb. These are small little things to an otherwise very impressive package featuring some great planetary jumps, featuring top-of-the-line CG work. This is when they were still putting in good amount of effort into the CG department. Featuring the heart that I really like from this series, some cool backstory, a pretty awesome villain with ego, who's got an interesting plan for taking over he is planets, and he's taking over more. Yeah, and Star-Lord Pratt really showcasing some range in this one, more so than the first. Yeah, I love this crew. Very good. Very good film. All right, so we're going to say Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 is just above that. I think in past rankings, I put Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 above the first one. It's kind of interchangeable for me. Spoiler alert, all three Guardians of the Galaxy movies I have in a row. And Guardians 3, I noticed this list got janked up somehow. I didn't have a chance to look at it before going live, which was obviously a mistake on me and Sheila, my intern, of course, that you never see. She's definitely real. Guardians, my actual order should be Guardians of the Galaxy number 1 above. Oh, this is confusing because it's not the number 1 movie on this list. But as far as the Guardians movies go, it's Guardians 1, Guardians 2, Guardians 3. I think 3 is the weakest of the 3. For some reason on this list, it's above them. So let's just go ahead and move up the list and say Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is at number 3 on this. I'm sorry, number 4 on this list. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is at number 3 on this list, and Guardians of the Galaxy is at number 2 on this list. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was a great send-off to these characters. It did have a more adult look to it. There's still plenty of humor. I think Gunn did a good job being restrained this time around and not undercutting his own drama, letting it simmer, letting shots actually play out. It is long. Again, I have a problem with length, but if I like the world I'm in, if I like the characters, if I'm invested in the story, I don't care if it's 3 hours, I don't care if it's 5 hours, but you have to make it worth my time. And Volume 3 did. I could have watched that movie for 6 hours because I just love the characters so much and I love the world it built. Very good send-off. He managed to make a very sad movie through and through without killing off main characters. Very impressive. He sure did a bunch of fake outs. I thought for sure Star-Lord was dying at the end, but thankfully kept him alive, kept it going. Okay, number 1, after a messy end there at the finish line, we have Avengers Infinity War. I think this is about as good as it gets. I really don't think it's ever going to be topped in the MCU. And the only reason this movie even has the luxury of being number 1 is because of the other movies I've praised on this list or mentioned in some regard. If they didn't knock it out of the park with the Guardians of the Galaxy or Iron Man or Doctor Strange or Spider-Man or Black Panther or, all these characters, I wouldn't care about this movie like I do. But I'm watching a bunch of fan favorites, a bunch of characters I've grown up with over a decade or more, really put through the ringer in this one. There's people dying left and right. Loki's taken out instantly. And this is a guy that was evil and tried to enslave mankind that they somehow managed to make me like. Tom Hiddleston knows how to get it done. We see Chris Hemsworth at his most vulnerable, watching his brother go. We see the Guardians off in space trying to figure out what the hell's going on. We see Iron Man Robert Downey sensing the danger. His biggest fear has come true. Another alien invasion is coming. Doctor Strange steals this first half with me. He's stealing it for me. Doing his cool little tricks, his magic, throwing stuff around, telling Iron Man there's only one shot at this thing. And then, of course, the ballsy finale where half of the world, half of the universe is killed off. Of course, we know in the back of our mind that somehow these characters are going to be brought back in some form. But there was legit damage done for the time being, and these people did lose 5 full years of their lives. They had to go on mourning the loss of these characters before ultimately finding a way to bring them back. I don't know. For me, Infinity War will always be the king. I can't see a way around it because that movie, especially the first 45 minutes of it, I was at the edge of my seat the whole time thinking, holy shit, this is like adult stuff now. We finally, after 20 some movies, have taken off the gloves and we're playing in the big kid box. We're in the sandbox where the adults are at for some reason. This analogy has really gone away from me. Okay, we took off the water wings and we're in the deep pool. That one works better. No more kiddie pool. We're swimming in the deep end. And there's sharks for some reason with laser beams attached to their heads. All right, that is my list. Is it perfect? I'd like to think so, yeah. Of course not. I couldn't even figure it out myself. but it is there. And I'm happy about it. If you have any thoughts, if you have any comments you want to throw my way, now is the time. One more chance for super chats. Otherwise, we'll just keep it a quiet Friday night. Wait, is it Saturday? Jesus, it's 12:02 in the morning. We've been running for a long time. Yeah, it's Saturday now, so I'm gonna get going to bed soon. Last thing I will say, I guess I will just remind you that today, apparently, since it is now Saturday, I am going to watch David Fincher's new movie. Since I love David Fincher films, I'm still butthurt that it's on Netflix and not going to theaters. I will have a review for The Killer up. Make sure to check out my review of The Marvels. It's on the channel. It's honest. It is what it is. You might agree, you might disagree, but hopefully you can understand where I'm coming from. Let me get into full screen mode. Bleep. Twitch. These are streamed to Twitch now. If you have a Twitch subscription that you're not using because you have an Amazon Prime account, so you get a free Twitch subscription, please throw it at my channel over there on Twitch. I do have something to say that I forgot to say at the beginning, and that is I attempted to do a gaming stream on here. That was a mistake. It was a shit show. StreamYard, at least for me, did not play nice with streaming a video game while having commentary. So Twitch is going to be exclusive for the movie video game talks. That'll probably do once or twice randomly throughout the week until I get a schedule set up. But so all these live streams go to Twitch, plus you will get exclusive ones over there of me playing through a game poorly or competently or whatever the game might be. It'll be fun regardless. So again, please follow me on Twitch at Adam Does Movies. Throw the free Prime subscription to me if you have it, and we can have a good time. There's perks that come with that, such as no ads, which is nice. No ads over there. That's fun for you. Alrighty. Thank you guys very much for watching. This will be up on the podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, all those things down the road, along with all future movie reviews. It was fun. If you're watching this later than the live, put down your MCU list in the comments below. Would love to hear your thoughts. All right. I'll see you next time.